Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we're getting into another Marvel Legends figure. This is from the X-Men 97 line. Before I get into anything, let me just take this out of its plastic packaging. But be mindful, this is a non-unboxing review. I always keep all these inside the boxes. That's how I like to collect them. At some point I may display them. I take them out of the box and display them, but as of right now, that is not the case. So this right here is Wolverine. Probably the hardest figure to get of this line, next to Rogue, I would say. Both of them are like almost impossible to get. Their prices have each, now the baseline of these prices at the time were supposed to be $25. They ended up going up to about, I think Wolverine, the highest I seen him was something like maybe like $60 at one time, and Rogue was the same. Then they would sometime come down to like about 45 was like as low as they would get. It was very rare to get them below that. Every now and then you might be able to catch it, and if you did, you did. Link's gonna be description down below if you guys want to purchase this on Amazon. And hopefully when that time comes, hopefully when that time comes, it is at a decent price, because this is crazy. Now, even though this figure and all the X-Men 97 figures have that look of being from the cartoon, so they have a little bit more of a cartoony look, this figure still was considered, was considered like just very good overall. One, he's not very tall, so it fits the height of Wolverine to a good degree. He's got the non-clawed hands and the clawed hands. Now, granted, Wolverine's a character. It would be nice if he had some open palm hands, but I guess when he's in this form, he doesn't have them. That's somewhat fine, because he has other versions where he's not in this costume or his suit, and then he will have like more open hands, because I believe that the one where he's wearing his jacket, his brown jacket, I think that he's able to hold a cigar or something like that. I'm not too sure. But anyway, so you've got the mask version, which this one always had over exaggerated the ears, the eye to ear pieces on the mask, which was how it was in the cartoon. And most of the other Wolverine figures never had it like that, but I think that it looks nice. It really just plays up to the animated series, so I think that's great. His face looks really nice as well, very much like it does in the show. You can see here that he's got some facial stubble, and then he's also got hair on his arms, but they didn't paint it in. So a lot of people felt a little bothered that it wasn't painted, but nonetheless, it's still, it sends the message across, so it's not too bad. Then he also has where the mask comes off. So if you had this wrapped around his neck, when his mask is off like that, it just looks like he pulled his mask down, which is a really nice look, because otherwise you would flip it upside down. So it would look like this on the back of his neck, and the idea is he pulls it over his head if he was whatever. But I never really seen that piece come with a lot of figures. I think there was one time that maybe did on an older figure, but I think that was like a nice aspect to it, because most of the time you see Wolverine without his mask on in that show, a lot of his facial expressions and this and that. So that was great that they did that. And this is from that first wave. Now, we also have already checked out some of the characters who were already from this wave, but this is that first wave. So you got Wolverine, Magneto, Rogue, Storm, Bishop, and Gambit. And like I said, Wolverine and Rogue were the two characters who were the hardest to get. I don't really know why Rogue was. I'm gonna guess because there were never any other versions of Rogue, I would say is the reason, because there was another version of her that was from the retro carded type, but that one was pretty expensive as well, and it was older, so I don't think a lot of people were able to get it. So since she wasn't a character who was produced much, I think is the reason why the demand was so high for her. Wolverine's just one of those characters who's always in demand, but especially when you're getting the cartoon version, which was different than his other versions. So that's why, but all the rest of the figures were not as expensive for a long time. Some of them do kind of go up in price, some of them don't. There's not a lot to say when it comes to Wolverine in terms of lore, because everyone already kind of knows everything about Wolverine, whatever the case is. But I will just say that for a lot of people, their first interpretation of Wolverine was the X-Men 90s cartoon, which really brought him to life. And before that, you had the comics and you could read the comics, but I feel like there are some characters who translate from the comics in our mind in a way where their translation carries over the exact way we envision them is the exact way they are. And I feel like some characters don't. There's little nuances about them. And I felt Wolverine's one of those characters where if you read the comics back in the 90s, you almost had this feeling like he's this kind of, you know, maybe like stone cold, kind of, I don't care about anything kind of attitude. But then when you see the nuances when he came out in X-Men, the 90s cartoon, it was like there was this extra layer of personality between his accent, between the way he would talk, the bub in there. And I'm sure he said bub in the comics as well, but it wasn't the same. It didn't hit the same. It didn't convey the same as you hearing him say it on TV. That voice became like synonymous with him. And it just definitely was a different feel. So I definitely would say that that was definitely a thing. Yeah, so that's a little just my thoughts on this, you guys. And as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.